December 11th, 2023, I made a message video for Klipsch saying this.
I just have a small nitpick with Klipsch, and it's going to be in regards of their subwoofers. I want to talk about their subwoofers. I've only reviewed one Klipsch subwoofer on this channel, and I've been doing this channel actively for about 4 years now, and I've only reviewed one Klipsch subwoofer because I have a nitpick with them, and I'm hoping that it's changed with this new line of subs that they just rolled out, because I love bass and I'm very familiar with what good bass sounds like, so I'll know if this is good bass or not. But everything that Klipsch offers is just subpar compared to their tower speakers that everybody loves, most everybody loves. They are really, really good. They're actually really, really big, like the 8000Fs, they're big, they're deep. They have two 10-inch drivers in them, and they're ported with like 2 ports on the back. They give you so much output. You guys don't have a sub that really matches that performance. I want to look at that sub and turn the volume up and know that it's not struggling. And that's the thing that I've noticed with Klipsch subs. They struggle very easily at moderately high volumes, and that's not what a good sub does. I just want Klipsch to compete better in the sub market, because there are so many sub manufacturers out there. We can just go on and go on about all these other subs that you should get before you consider Klipsch. You don't want your sub being one of the weakest links in the system, because it's the second most important speaker in the system. And so I wish Klipsch would put more emphasis on making a bomb subwoofer. Just compete with SVS, compete with Monoprice, and put your name on the map when it comes to sub, just like your name's on the map when it comes to Klipsch speakers. So that's my nitpick with Klipsch right now, is that their subs just don't hang, man. They don't hang.
We have their new sub in for review. What do I think?
So I just finished making a video about torture testing the RP1200SW subwoofer from Klipsch, and now you are watching the full review. If you haven't watched the torture test, it was quite fun. It definitely lets you know a lot about the sub, and there's not a lot of people on YouTube you're gonna watch that's gonna actually put a subwoofer through a torture test. I'm young, I like car audio, I like home audio, so I'm gonna do it. So definitely check that video out, because it does show a lot about the subwoofer. But this review is going to be an absolutely honest review, good or bad, does not matter. So if you haven't watched the unboxing, we went through all the specs. This is a 12-inch subwoofer. This is the brand new line, RP line of subwoofers. They have a 10, 12, 14, and 16-inch, and they vary between different power ratings. This 12-inch that I'm reviewing, the 1200SW, as the name suggests, is a 400-watt RMS, 800-watt peak subwoofer. And we're going to talk about why that matters a lot. Be careful when you're going through their website or even on Amazon, because it'll say 800 watts. That's its maximum power. That is not what it can do all the time. 400 watts is what it's comfortable doing on a daily basis. 800 watts is just for those impacts that you need, real quick bass response, and it goes back to being 400 watts or under. So this sub here is a really cool design. It has they've been doing vented ports for a while, but this one's been kind of reimagined. It's supposed to be a little cleaner sound, help the air escape through the box a little more quietly. And then it's not so tall, but it is deep. So it actually digs just over 16 hertz. So it's actually a really capable sub. I love subs that dig under 20 hertz. I think that's what all subs should do if you're going to be called a subwoofer. This one doesn't. So the design is really nice, the aesthetic is really nice, and the materials are nice. A brand new amplifier design, Class D, has a wireless adapter you can attach to the amp back there and use it wirelessly like I'm doing now. So it's a really good sub, and this comes in at $1,000, right? So the two things that I want to start off by saying is how good the sub actually is. There's a really good sound coming out of the subwoofer that I could not really say about their other subwoofers in the past. I know a lot of you guys are hesitant on buying Klipsch subs because their previous generation had quality issues. The amplifiers went out, that was a big thing, had driver issues, or it just didn't sound good. And that's too many things going against it that makes people not want to buy it. So I was eager to try this one. It does sound good, first and foremost. Clean bass is what I'm after. Even in a ported enclosure like this, I still want clean bass as much as it can give me for the price tag. And it does give you clean bass. It's relatively responsive. I won't say flat, but I will put some measurements up in this video. It's not the most flattest sub in the world, but that's fine. None of Klipsch's speakers have ever been flat. So this matches the rest of the Klipsch line, but you can definitely mix and match brands with this subwoofer. So it has a really good sound, a little more emphasis towards the lower half of the spectrum, 50, 40, 30 hertz. It loves the 25 hertz region. Between 25 and 50 is the sweet spot for this sub as far as getting the most output. So it has I'd say if I had to guess the port tuning of this sub, I'd say it's just over 20 hertz, maybe around 23, 25, something in there. And the way that I know is because I get the most output without the most cone travel. Usually you can tell a subwoofer's port tuning by playing different frequencies, and you'll find out that you'll get a lot of air and a lot of output, but the cone's not moving very much. And that means that it's at its port tuning where the sub has the most control. When you get underneath the port tunings where you get into trouble, and you do get into trouble with this subwoofer. On their website, they say that there's a minimal amount of port chuffing. They've flared this port and made sure that when that air escapes the port, you can't hear it. You definitely can. Every ported subwoofer you can, but it's a lot. When you get around 20 hertz or so at a high volume, a consistent bass note, it's really more so port chuffing than it is SPL, actual frequency. And so in my torture video, I did a 20 hertz test tone at a moderate level, and all I really heard was air, was just the turbulence coming out of that port, which was louder than I expected. Now, I did expect some port chuffing, but not as much as I got at 20 hertz. So be careful if you like to listen to a lot of bass, and if you listen to music a lot and you want to use this sub in a music setting, if you have it relatively loud, moderately loud, and you're playing low frequency bass, you will hear a lot of air. Didn't matter if I was close to the sub or far away, I still heard a lot of air. So it is what it is. That's just the kind of the drawbacks you get from a ported sub. I'm not going to blame Klipsch for that. However, I do want to complain about the power rating. There are still a lot of subs out there. We are overly saturated with subs. Every brand that makes speakers probably has subwoofers. And there are a lot of good subwoofers. And there's a lot of companies that only make subwoofers. And so there's a lot of competition at this $1,000 price range. For $1,000, you're getting a 12-inch sub with 400 watts. And I hate that. That is my biggest complaint for this sub. Not because there's other competition that gives you more power for the money, because power isn't everything, but you really could really benefit from more power from this sub. I'd rather it be an 800 watt RMS sub, 1600 watts peak versus 400 watts RMS 800, which is what this is. Because it just, I want a little bit more. I'm not in a big room. I'm 10 and a half feet by 13 or 10 by 13 and a half, something in there. I'm not a big room. And even in the small room at moderately high volume levels, the sub, you can tell that it doesn't have much more to give. That cone is just going crazy. You can hear the air coming out of the box. You know that you're reaching your mechanical limits, and you can even smell it. I did even get to the point where I was cooking the coil because there was just not enough power left to give. So while it does sound really good and it does dig deep, it is still rated for a small to medium room at 12 inches. Even having two of these, it would help, but I feel like going up to their 14 would be the better buy, even though it's quite a bit, I don't know, maybe $400 more. I can't remember exactly the price tag. But I think the 14-inch sub will be the better one to buy than the 12-inch sub because of the extra increase in power. Of course, another 2 inches of cone area means a little bit more output. But now you're getting a little bit more output, not much more of a bigger box, but you're getting a little bit deeper output and you're getting a lot more power. That's what I wish this had, was a little bit more power, because it does sound good, but it's a little too quiet for me personally. But I do have 3 subs in this room, so maybe it's just me. I don't know. I do want to say that this is way better than what they what they brought out to us ever. This is one of their best subs. There are some like high-end subs they've made in the past that this doesn't compete with, but their previous generation that this replaced, improvement in every regard. The amplifier looks to be better. Obviously these are new, but they look like they're gonna hold up for a while. Just the finish on the cabinets look good. I really didn't like a lot of the finishes that the subs were from the previous line. The cone still has that signature copper look, but it seems to be a little more athletic. It moves a little bit quicker. It stops a little bit faster. I wish they would venture into the sealed versions of this, or give us a foam pad to stick in that slot to seal it. I think it could benefit from that potentially. But overall, this sub is in every shape, way better than what's previously been here. So if you're rocking an old RP whatever, look into this new line. Maybe you can put them together for a while until you get money for a second one. But if you have an old line, I think it's worthy. If you have other Klipsch speakers or you just want to stay with the Klipsch name, these subs are definitely good successors to what was previously going on. So kudos to Klipsch for that. It is a vast improvement. I took a second to look at the RP1200SW specs. It is a little bit louder. It's 100 watts RMS higher, 200 watts peak, much stronger. I think that's where this one should have been, or even a little bit higher than that. And that's kind of where I think Klipsch is still going to get in trouble. Yes, they have made a better subwoofer, but they still don't compete with SVS. The prices are too similar, in my opinion, to compete. The price is too similar to SVS to have this kind of rating. I remember when I had my SVS PB4000s, I had 2 of them. And those cost me, I think, $16.99 or $19.99. I can't remember what they were. Maybe just under $2,000 at the time, or just slightly less than that. And they were like 5,000 watts peak, maybe 2,000 watts RMS, or 2,500 watts RMS, 5,000 watts peak, something, or 1,500 watts RMS. I think is what it is. Golly. But nonetheless, that is 1,000 watts, 1,100 watts more than this thing for $200, $300 more. It's a much bigger sub, but that's a lot more performance, as well as a dedicated app to fine tune. And their wireless adapters are cheaper than these wireless adapters, and they work for any sub. You can get a wireless adapter to be a 2-port adapter is all you can use with the Klipsch brand. Of course, you can use an SVS adapter on the Klipsch if you want to, but you can't use a Klipsch adapter on the SVS. So their proprietary device to make your subs wireless is less than theirs, and then their subwoofer is about a couple $100 more. I'm still going SVS over Klipsch. So I don't know. I feel like Klipsch is definitely in the right direction with getting us a killer sub to match their killer speakers. That's what we've been asking for forever. I think we have to reevaluate these prices because they're too close to things like Monolith, the Monoprice Monolith subs. They're fantastic. They're similar price. They're not similar performance. SVS, they're similarly priced. They're not similar in performance. And if you're really serious about bass, you're looking at Rhythmic, you're looking at Paradigm, things like that, which, yeah, they may be more by a little bit, but there's some solid options, man, that will blow this thing out of the water. And not to mention DIY subs. If you're somebody who can build yourself a box, tune it to however you want it, throw dual 15s in there, whatever, you can build yourself 2 DIY subs for the price of this sub and probably get overall better performance. So really good sub, Klipsch. I like it. I truly do. And if I was just getting into home theater, obviously Klipsch is somebody you're going to want to look to because they're everywhere. There's a lot of marketing. You can go into a big box store and pick one up. So if I'm getting into home theater and I'm looking at subs, I'm definitely putting this on my radar. But because I've heard so many subs in my lifetime, I have a different look on this sub than maybe somebody like you will. Maybe you don't have a sub and you're looking, oh, I just bought 5 Klipsch speakers from Best Buy last week. I'm looking for a sub. How's the matching sub? I would still go get the matching sub and just harness everything together. Klipsch sub, Klipsch center channel, Klipsch speakers, Klipsch Atmos, whatever. I would keep it all in-house. But if you're somebody who has a Klipsch sub and you're thinking, I like the new line, but I think I want something better. What's better? Well, SVS, Rel, Rhythmic, Sioux Research, things like that. They're not too expensive for the performance that you're going to get. And that's just how it is. So Klipsch, fantastic sub. It does sound good. I am going to throw some measurements up really quickly before we end this video. But I would like to see these on some sort of 20% discount or Black Friday sale with a steep discount, because I think that's what's going to get you the sales, because they still don't quite compete with the rest of the competition. Maybe they don't want to, and that's fine, but competition is good. But anyway, let's go take a look at the measurements real quickly, and then we'll end the video there. All right, guys, so I have my mic in place. It's about a foot away from the sub. I'm going to run a frequency sweep just to see what the response is in my room, near field, near the sub, and in my listening position. We're going to do 2 measurements each. So I'm going to do one without room correction, and then I'll do one with room correction. So I'm going to start this again. This is the near field test without room correction. So let's stop it there and see what we get here. So we're kind of everywhere. Not a bad graph, really. We can easily fix this up. Again, this is near fields. This is just what the sub sounds like right next to it. And so 95 dB, not too bad. Our highest peak here, 95 is our average dB across all the frequencies. And it looks like we get down to 15 hertz. We're about 96 dBs at 15 hertz, and our highest peak looks to be about, I don't know, 60 or 70. And again at 90, 85, 90, at least right there next to the sub. So that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and run calibration, or use calibration file, and do another sweep. So with arc room correction applied, we have a lot more output. Now we're a little bit more scattered, but I could easily tell that it was louder before the graph even popped up. But it definitely is louder. Now we have a way worse dip down here at the 40 hertz region, or I guess it's about 40, 45 hertz or so. But again, this is near field, doesn't really matter too much, because what I'm hearing here is not what my microphone is hearing up there. So I'm going to turn off room correction. I'm going to put the microphone in my listening position. That's what you're probably going to care about the most. This shows us what the speaker just sounds like in general, at least in my environment. Let's bring the mic here and see what it sounds like with my room, adding, a little bit of effect to it. All right, guys, so here we are again. I have my microphone in head position. It doesn't too much matter with bass like it does with higher frequencies, but it is ear level where my head usually is when I'm watching. We're going to start off with the first graph being no room correction. So this is just what the subwoofer sounds like in my room. So obviously our overall SPO is a lot lower. It was about 95, 96 dBs. It's 86 here. So just being another 3 or 4 feet away has dropped us a 10 decibels. So that's kind of just how sound works, right? So here's what we got going on now. So a lot of output at 20 hertz, 25 hertz, 30 hertz. We're above 100 dB there. It kind of stays relatively smooth. It's within 2 or 3 dBs all the way up to almost 50 hertz, probably like 40, maybe 45 hertz there. There's that dip again that we heard when it was near field. It's still here. And then anything after that kind of drops off a cliff, kind of jumps up a little bit. So there's a lot of room nodes going on. We can clean that sound up with acoustic treatment or whatever. But this is just what the sub sounds like, no room correction in my listening position. Let's go ahead and run another test. We're going to use room correction this time and see what that graph looks like. Stop it there this time. So let me see if I can't grab this and bring it down. All right, so this time we have a little bit different of a graph. It's still a little bit everywhere, right? So we're getting almost 110 dB around 25 hertz, or around, a little bit less than that actually. This is more like 16 or 17, which is interesting because that's where it's rated to. But in my room, we're getting a pretty low response, which is what I said in the review. It is played pretty deep. And it's around that port tune, which makes sense. And that's kind of how you know where your port is tuned to, because you'll get your highest output around the port tuning. So we're probably tuned between 20, 25 hertz, something in there. But the frequency spot looks like this. So it does get pretty loud in this room at some frequencies, but the overall SPL is about 88 dB. And that for me is just not enough. I want a little bit more. I want 95. I want maybe 100 across more frequencies than just, you know, maybe the lower frequencies. Some people like that mid-bass bang, the part that feels you, that hits you in your chest. That's around, you know, 70, 80, 90, 100 hertz or whatever. It doesn't have a lot of output right there. That's more so because how I have my room treated. I have treated a lot of mid-bass with the 2 acoustic panels that I have. But you guys can kind of just get a visual idea of what this subwoofer is good at. It's really good at digging pretty deep. It's a ported sub, you kind of expect that. And it does it moderately loud. Even doing the frequency sweep, I was able to hear a little bit of mechanical limits. You can hear that motor kind of like, oh man, we're kind of moving. Turn the volume down just a little bit. So you get a little bit of compression around these volume levels. Yes, it's impressive that we're getting above 100 dB, but there's a little bit of compression going on. You're not going to get much higher than what we're seeing on this graph. And again, this is in a small room, a very tiny bedroom. And so if you're putting this in a bigger room, maybe in a home theater down in the basement, that's when you're going to want a bigger one, right? So with that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video there. Really good subwoofer. I think it's a vast improvement on what I've heard from their previous line of subwoofers. It is something to take a look at. If you're looking to upgrade from your current Klipsch sub to a new one, this will 100% be better than what you're using right now if you're using an old one. But if you're looking across all the options, SVS, rail, whatever, you're probably going to find that for the price, or maybe a couple $100 more, you can get yourself a lot more performance and potentially better quality. We don't know yet since they're new, right? So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. There will be a link down below to the review video or the torture video that I did, the unboxing video, and to the sub itself if you want to take a look at it. Again, there are 4 different models, so click the link below to see what they have to offer. And again, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button, and we'll see you in the next one. K-Pace Guy out. Peace.